Ladies and gentlemen, the world doesn't pay you for your time, it pays you for your value. And if you want to rise, if you want to stand above the noise, the doubt, and the excuses, you must stop chasing validation and start becoming irreplaceable. You must focus with unwavering discipline on one thing, becoming more valuable than ever before. The world doesn't pay you for showing up. It pays you for the value you bring when you do. There is a common misunderstanding that simply investing time or being present is enough to deserve reward. But time in itself holds no value unless it is filled with effort, insight, and results. In every industry, in every career, and in every relationship, it is not how long you've been doing something, it's what you can do that others can't. Marketplace does not reward effort alone. It rewards effectiveness. People are compensated in proportion to the problems they solve, the impact they make, and the value they deliver. That's why two people can spend the same amount of hours at work and one walks away with significantly more recognition, opportunity, and compensation than the other. The difference is not time. The difference is value. Value is not measured by presence. It's measured by contribution. You can be in a room all day and still offer nothing. Or you can enter that same room, say one idea, share one strategy, or ask one question that shifts the direction of everything. That's value. And in a world that's becoming more automated, more distracted, and more crowded with noise, the ability to bring something truly valuable, a new solution, a unique insight, a rare skill, is what will set you apart. This is why focusing on becoming more valuable must be a daily pursuit. It's not a switch you flip, it's a process you commit to. Your skills must evolve. Your thinking must sharpen. Your discipline must deepen. Because the person who can adapt, learn, and consistently elevate their contributions is the person who becomes indispensable. The truth is that value creates leverage. It's the reason why some people attract opportunities effortlessly while others struggle for scraps. Value puts you in demand. It causes people to remember your name, return your calls, and include you in rooms where decisions are made. It makes you magnetic, not because of personality, but because of usefulness. When others know you can deliver, they start to rely on you. When you exceed expectations, they start to promote you. When you build trust through performance, your value compounds. Acutely refers to your ability to reflect value unpurposely. You may know your value last year. What made you valuable last year may not be enough this year. The skills that got you in the door won't be the same ones that keep you at the table. This is where many people stagnate. They believe that past performance entitles them to future rewards. But the world doesn't operate on memory. It operates on relevance. Are you relevant today? Are your ideas sharp? Are your results visible? Are you still solving problems, still pushing forward, still learning something new? Becoming more valuable is not about chasing titles or applause. It's about developing substance. It's about becoming someone others can depend on, not occasionally, but consistently. Chasing validation is a trap that keeps people stuck in a cycle of performance rather than progress. It's easy to fall into the habit of seeking approval from others, looking for likes, applause, praise, or recognition as signs that you're doing the right thing. But external validation is unstable and fleeting. When your self-worth depends on someone else's response, you give them control over your direction, your decisions, and your peace of mind. The pursuit of validation is seductive because it offers a quick hit of satisfaction, but it rarely leads to lasting growth. True value, on the other hand, is built internally. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing what you bring to the table, regardless of whether or not someone else claps for it. Becoming irreplaceable has nothing to do with impressing people. It has everything to do with solving real problems, showing up when it counts, and delivering results that matter. The people who rise in business, in life, in leadership, are not the ones who spend their time trying to look important. They are the ones who make themselves essential through mastery, reliability, and the consistent ability to improve what they touch. To become irreplaceable is to become someone whose absence is felt. It means developing rare skills, building a reputation for execution, and having the character to do the hard things well and without fanfare. Irreplaceable people aren't loud. They're dependable. They don't demand attention. They command respect through excellence. This shift from validation seeking to value creation requires a strong mindset. It means being willing to do the right work even when no one notices. It means pushing yourself to improve, not because someone is watching, but because you've decided that excellence is your standard. You stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're good enough, and you start proving to yourself that you are capable, disciplined, and driven. When your sense of worth comes from the inside, you move differently. You no longer need applause to keep going. You no longer bend to every opinion. You gain clarity in your purpose, and that clarity breeds power. Focusing on becoming irreplaceable also means learning to separate your value from your ego. Not every skill you've mastered will stay relevant forever. Not every strength you have now will serve you 5 years from today. People who become truly indispensable are always evolving. They study what others ignore. They improve what others tolerate. They are not content with being seen. They want to be useful. And they are willing to sacrifice popularity for progress. The pursuit of validation makes you passive, waiting to be chosen, but becoming irreplaceable puts you in a position to choose your work, your direction, your life, based on contribution rather than applause. You move from needing to be noticed to needing to be effective, and that shift changes everything about how you show up in the world. Discipline and focus are not glamorous traits, but they are the foundation of anything truly valuable. In a world full of distractions, shortcuts, and noise, the person who can consistently do the work is the one who builds something that lasts. Discipline is the ability to act according to what you know is right, not what you feel in the moment. It's waking up early when your body wants to sleep. It's studying when others are scrolling. It's sticking to the plan when your emotions beg you to quit. Focus is your ability to eliminate the unnecessary so you can concentrate fully on what truly matters. Together, discipline and focus form the engine that drives mastery, growth, and high performance. Most people want success, but few are willing to maintain the kind of mental structure that success demands. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about building habits that work even when motivation disappears. Because motivation will always fluctuate. Some days you'll feel inspired, some days you won't. If your progress is tied to how motivated you feel, you'll remain inconsistent. But when your life is built on discipline, you continue to move forward even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Discipline is what keeps you going when no one is watching, when there's no reward in sight, when you've hit a plateau and everything inside you is whispering that maybe you should ease up. That's when discipline shines, not in moments of excitement, but in moments of resistance. Focus is equally essential. Without focus, effort becomes diluted. You might be busy, but you're not effective. You might be working hard, but you're working in circles. Focus allows you to channel your energy toward a single purpose, and that singularity of effort is what leads to real progress. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they can't stay locked in on one target long enough to see results. They're constantly jumping from one idea to the next, chasing quick wins or fleeing the discomfort of slow growth. But value is created through depth, not speed. The deeper you go in your craft, the more valuable you become. And you can't go deep without focus. Together, discipline and focus turn average people into high performers. They help you block out the noise of comparison, doubt, and distraction. They anchor you when emotions run high and motivation runs low. and over time they compound. One disciplined day may not seem like much. One focused hour may feel small, but stack those days, repeat those hours, and you build momentum. You begin to shape your future through deliberate, intentional effort. Others may talk louder, appear flashier, or grow faster in the short term, but without discipline and focus, they burn out. Meanwhile, you're still building, still growing, still improving because your results are rooted in something deeper than hype. You've trained yourself to stay in the game long after others have dropped out, and that persistence creates power. Discipline and focus are not optional if you want to become valuable. They are the very tools that make it possible. Being proactive means taking initiative before you are asked, stepping forward before anyone points in your direction, and choosing to lead rather than waiting to be led. It is a mindset of ownership where you take full responsibility for your growth, your actions, and your outcomes. People who wait to be told what to do often remain in the background, easily replaced and easily overlooked. But those who take action without needing permission set themselves apart, and that become trusted, reliable, and respected not because they are the loudest, but because they are the most dependable. Being proactive turns you from a follower into a force. Proactive individuals understand that their value increases when they consistently bring solutions instead of problems. Anyone can point out what's wrong, but it takes intention and courage to offer an answer. This is where real impact begins. People who develop the habit of thinking one step ahead, of always asking, what can I do to improve this, become indispensable. They see things others overlook, they act when others hesitate, and they build influence through quiet execution. Being proactive is not about being perfect, it's about being engaged. It's about choosing to be part of the answer rather than waiting around for change to happen on its own. One of the most important elements of being proactive is the willingness to take responsibility. Proactive people don't shift blame or make excuses. They don't say, that's not my job. Instead, they say, what can I do? This attitude of ownership creates momentum. It inspires others. It moves things forward. And over time, it builds trust. People gravitate toward those who take initiative because they know things get done when those people are involved. Trust is earned through action, and proactive action is the fastest way to earn it. Being proactive also means developing the habit of preparation. It's not just about doing more. It's about thinking ahead. Preparing your mind, your work, your strategy before you're forced to act under pressure gives you the edge. It allows you to move with clarity instead of chaos. Proactive people create margin in their lives by planning, learning, and adjusting early. They study trends, they sharpen their skills, and they prepare themselves for opportunities before they even arrive. And when those opportunities do appear, they're ready. Not lucky, not surprised, but ready. This readiness is not accidental. It is the result of a mindset that refuses to wait for change and instead becomes the catalyst for it. Value is not created in public. It is forged in private. The most meaningful growth happens in moments that no one else sees. In the early mornings when the world is still asleep, in the quiet nights when distractions have faded, in the long hours of practice, study, and repetition when there is no applause, no spotlight, and no guarantee. These moments are where character is built, where skill is sharpened, and where the foundation of future success is laid. While many wait for recognition before they act, those who understand the power of private work already know that public reward is always the result of silent preparation. It's easy to appear productive when others are watching. It's easy to perform when there's an audience. But the true test of discipline and commitment is what you do when no one's there to keep you accountable. It's in these hidden hours that excellence takes root. You can't fake preparation. You can't pretend your way into mastery. The work either gets done or it doesn't. And the results will reflect that truth. Greatness doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives as a result of relentless, unseen effort. It's born from thousands of repetitions, quiet corrections, and internal battles no one ever hears about. And there is a kind of power that comes from doing the hard things in silence. When you don't seek validation, when you're not chasing applause, and when you're not performing for anyone but your future self, the work becomes purer, more intentional. It becomes a statement of who you are, not what you want others to think of you. This is where authenticity lives, far from the noise of attention, deep in the solitude of consistent effort. The private work you do becomes your edge because while others are distracted, you're building something real. While others are waiting for motivation, you're developing discipline. And while others are hoping for a breakthrough, you're making yourself ready to seize one. The silence of preparation is not glamorous, but it is essential. If you rely on external pressure to do the work, you'll never build the internal strength to withstand adversity. But when you've trained in the quiet, when you've suffered in solitude, and when you've pushed yourself without an audience, you develop something stronger than confidence. You develop conviction. You don't need to fake belief because you know what you've put in. You know the hours, the sacrifice, the commitment. And that knowledge makes you unshakable when the pressure comes. The world only sees the outcome, but value is always born in process. That process often looks like long days with little praise, effort with little reward, and growth that feels painfully slow. But what you build in the dark eventually shows up in the light. The muscle, the mindset, the resilience, it's all formed through consistent, invisible work. This is why you must not underestimate the power of your private habits, your daily decisions, your unseen routine. They are the architecture of your future results, the evidence of your dedication, and the quiet force that will set you apart when it matters most. Outgrowing your old self, outlearning the competition, and outworking your former limits is not just a motivational mantra, it's a necessity in a world that never stops evolving. If you are not growing, you are falling behind. What once made you competitive quickly becomes average, and what once set you apart can easily become outdated. The key to remaining relevant, impactful, and valuable is a relentless commitment to personal evolution. It means refusing to settle for yesterday's accomplishments, refusing to rely on past knowledge, and refusing to be defined by a former version of who you were. Outgrowing your old self is about more than improvement. It's about transformation. It's recognizing that who you are today is not enough to take you where you want to go tomorrow. Growth requires that you let go of old habits, outdated beliefs, and limiting identities. It demands that you become more self-aware, more honest about your weaknesses, and more intentional about your actions. The process is uncomfortable because it requires change. It forces you to confront the gap between your current self and your potential self. But it's in that gap that real progress is made. When you commit to outgrowing yourself, you move from simply maintaining to actively evolving. Outlearning the competition means understanding that knowledge is power only when it is pursued deliberately. It's not enough to know what everyone else knows. You must know more, and you must know it deeper. You must study your craft until you can teach it. You must understand your industry until you can see patterns others miss, and you must develop skills that others are too lazy or too distracted to master. This doesn't happen by accident. It happens by consistently choosing learning over comfort, development over distraction, and curiosity over complacency. Lifelong learners become lifelong leaders because they are constantly refining their minds and expanding their capacity to contribute. Outworking your former limits is perhaps the most personal and powerful piece of the equation. It's not about comparing yourself to others. It's about competing with who you were yesterday. It's about pushing your boundaries, increasing your capacity, and breaking through the ceilings you once thought were permanent. Every time you stretch yourself beyond what's comfortable, you redefine what is possible for you. You don't become stronger by staying in your comfort zone. You become stronger by doing the hard things, especially when you don't feel like it. When you show up with discipline and go further than you did last time, you build momentum. And that momentum compounds into transformation. This triad of growth, outgrowing, outlearning, and outworking, is what separates the exceptional from the average. Most people plateau because they stop evolving. They stop seeking knowledge, stop challenging themselves, and start clinging to old versions of their identity. But those who understand that becoming valuable is a process, not a destination, never stop moving forward. They wake up each day with the mindset of a student, the work ethic of a builder, and the resilience of a warrior. They don't just try to stay in the game. They play to redefine it through their relentless commitment to becoming more than they were the day before. Mastery is the pursuit that separates the average from the exceptional. It is not about chasing quick wins or temporary recognition, but about committing to the long, often uncomfortable journey of becoming excellent at what you do. When you chase success, your attention is often fixed on the outcome, money, status, applause. But when you chase mastery, your focus shifts to the process, the repetition, the refinement, the discipline. Success becomes a byproduct, not the goal. This shift in focus transforms not just your results, but your mindset. You stop measuring progress by superficial markers and start measuring it by depth, by growth, by the invisible improvements only you can feel. You don't ask what's good enough. You ask what's the absolute best you can create with the resources, time, and skill you have. That standard pushes you further than motivation ever could. You're no longer doing the work for the reward. You're doing it because it's who you are. There is a calm power in those who pursue mastery. They are less reactive, less distracted, and more focused on the long term. While others jump from project to project, trying to get ahead as fast as possible, those committed to mastery are building something that lasts. They are not moved by trends or hype because they are anchored in something deeper. Their confidence doesn't come from recognition, but from repetition, from showing up day after day, refining their skill, and seeing themselves improve. This internal confidence is unshakable because it's earned, not borrowed. The pursuit of mastery also cultivates patience, humility, and resilience. You begin to understand that expertise is not gained in weeks or months. It is forged over years. You encounter plateaus, setbacks, and moments where progress seems invisible. But you persist because the pursuit itself becomes meaningful. You stop comparing yourself to others because your standard is your potential. You recognize that the only real competition is with who you were yesterday, and you honor that competition by continuing to show up, continuing to sharpen your edge, and continuing to stretch the boundaries of what you're capable of. Those who chase mastery inevitably become valuable, not because they demand attention, but because their work speaks for itself. Their name becomes associated with quality, consistency, and depth. People trust them, respect them, and seek them out, not for their image, but for their impact. Mastery builds reputation without self-promotion, influence without ego, and authority without force. It is the slow burn that becomes unstoppable over time. While others burn out trying to be seen, those who pursue mastery become unmissable because they've built something real, rare, and worth remembering. Contribution is the final stage of growth that transcends personal success. It's where your journey becomes larger than yourself, where the value you've built is used to uplift, teach, and inspire others. At a certain point in development, acquiring skills, building status, and achieving personal goals isn't enough. Fulfillment begins to demand more than achievement. It begins to demand impact. Contribution is the act of giving back not because you have to, but because you've developed yourself to the point where your knowledge, effort, and presence can serve someone else's progress. It's the moment when you stop asking, "What can I gain?" and start asking, "What can I give?" The most powerful people are those who pour into others. They aren't defined just by what they accomplish, but by how many people they help rise. They teach what they've learned, share what they've built, and offer their time, energy, and resources to make someone else's journey a little easier. Contribution is not about charity. It's about responsibility. When you've grown, it becomes your responsibility to extend a hand to those who are still climbing. When you've overcome adversity, it becomes your responsibility to guide those who are struggling through similar battles. When you've found a way forward, you illuminate the path for others behind you. True contribution doesn't always look grand or public. It's often quiet and intentional. It's the mentor who takes time to listen, the leader who elevates others without needing the credit, the individual who shares hard-earned wisdom not for applause, but because it might help someone else avoid a pitfall. Contribution is powerful because it multiplies impact. When you invest in others, your influence expands far beyond what you could do alone. One word of encouragement, one piece of insight, one act of generosity can echo through someone else's life for years. To live a life of contribution, you must first become someone worth learning from. That's why the pursuit of excellence and value must come first. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot teach what you haven't mastered. But once you've built something real within yourself, discipline, skill, resilience, character, your ability to contribute becomes limitless. Your story becomes a source of strength. Your lessons become tools for others. Your presence becomes a stabilizing force for those who have yet to find their footing. Contribution is also the antidote to ego. It shifts the focus from self-centered ambition to service-driven purpose. It reminds you that the ultimate measure of your value is not just what you keep, but what you share. It transforms your journey from one of accumulation to one of elevation, elevating those around you, those who follow you, and even those you may never meet. When you commit to contribution, you commit to leaving things better than you found them, to being a builder not just of your own life, but of others' futures. It is a choice to lead through service, to create through generosity, and to build a legacy that lasts beyond your time and presence.